During the Cold War, the General Dynamics F-111 was a unique aircraft developed by Robert McNamara as part of his technical fighter experimental program. The aircraft was designed to fulfill duties for the Air Force and Navy but faced resentment due to its unique features. The USAF loved the F-111, while the Navy hated it. It was designed for interceptor and fighter bomber roles, featuring innovations like variable sweep wings, terrain-following radar, and afterburning turbofan engines. The F-111 was nicknamed the Aardvark or Earth Pig due to its large nose. In 1996, the USAF decommissioned their final F-111, and in 2010, the Australian Air Force decommissioned the F-111 after 40 years of service. In May 1960, an American CIA U-2 spy plane was downed by a S-75 surface-to-air missile during a hostile Russian operation. The U.S. was surprised by the Soviet air defense's ability to bring down the plane, and the USAF decided to develop a short-range, close-to-ground supersonic fighter to avoid being picked up by adversary radars. The Strategic Air Command acknowledged the need for a new, low-level penetration fighter. The Navy was seeking a long-range carrier-based interceptor with powerful air-to-air missiles to counter Soviet anti-ship missiles. President Kennedy's Defense Secretary Robert McNamara aimed to create a single multifunctional aircraft that could save millions of dollars. However, the idea of working together was unpopular. The result was the Tactical Fighter Experimental TFX program, which was managed by the USAF and developed by General Dynamics. The program was designed to meet the needs of both services. The Secretary of Defense began designing the aircraft on common ground, requiring twin engines, variable geometry wings, powerful weapons, and fuel loads for high supersonic speeds. However, disagreements between the Navy and USAF led to disengagement from the project. The Navy wanted a high-altitude interceptor with side-by-side seats, while the USAF preferred a tandem seat arrangement for low-level penetration operations. An additional complicating factor was that the USAF's design would serve as the primary basis for McNamara's plane, as the Navy started referring to it. Receiving a second-place choice made sailors feel embarrassed, and they would never forgive it. The F-111 was a prototype aircraft designed by General Electric and Grumman, featuring variants A and B for each branch. It was powered by Pratt Whitney TF30 P1 turbofan engines with advanced afterburner technology. The aircraft had an escape capsule and side-by-side seating arrangement, which functioned like a space capsule in emergencies. The fuselage could carry 30,000 pounds of bomb load and fuel for long-range sorties up to 3,000 miles. The F-111's swim wings, or variable geometry arrangement, were used to achieve the required speeds, swinging outward during takeoff to generate lift and inward during mid-flight to boost speed. The F-111 aircraft featured an autopilot-connected terrain-following radar system, allowing it to fly near the ground to avoid hostile radar equipment, and was useful during night or poor weather conditions. It could carry a detachable M61 gun, 2 M117 bombs, or a tactical nuclear device at Bombay. The aircraft also had 4 5,000-pound capacity underwing pylons for mounting fuel drop tanks or missiles. The USAF variant of the F-111A performed well during testing, reaching Mach 2.5 at high altitude and Mach 1.3 at low altitude. However, the Navy's F-111B had issues. The F-111B, a flying tank designed by the Navy, was deemed too large and heavy for combat use. Pilots, including veteran pilot George Merritt, found the aircraft cumbersome and inefficient. Merritt believed the F-111B was too underpowered and had poor cockpit visibility for a fighter. The Navy considered retiring the McNamara aircraft during the Vietnam War, but Vice Admiral Tom Connolly refused to make the aircraft what they wanted. Congress refused to sanction funding for the aircraft, and the cost of each jet increased from $3 million to $8 million. The Navy F-111 was later canceled, highlighting the shortcomings of the aircraft's design and the lack of sufficient power to make it what the Navy wanted. The F-111B was a significant departure from the Navy's initial vision for a combat weapon. The F-111, despite being ineffective for the Navy, had a successful career with the USAF. In 1972, it demonstrated its low-altitude capabilities and nighttime usage of terrain radar, damaging air defense batteries and NBA airfields. In 1975, F-111s were sent to sink the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia and had one of the lowest loss rates of the war when it captured the container ship SS Maikwas. In 1986, President Reagan ordered the bombing of Libyan dictator Muammar al-Gaddafi's home base outside Tripoli, marking the first time a powerful airstrike was used to overthrow a head of state. Operation El Dorado Canyon involved a squadron of 18 F-111s, 4 EF-111s, and electronic warfare tools to interfere with adversary radars. Out of the 3,800 combat flights, only 6 were lost. Despite heavy bombing, the Libyan dictator and his family survived. During Operation Desert Storm in the Gulf War, F-111s utilized their low-altitude capabilities to search for Iraqi SAM positions and jam enemy air defense systems. Electronic warfare F-111s were crucial in the coalition attack on Baghdad, where Package Q was launched. Over 5,000 flights were flown by 80 F-111s in different combat versions during the Gulf War. The Australian Air Force is the only customer of the USAF-sold F-111C, and since 1973, the F-111 has been dubbed the Pig by the Australians because to its long nose and terrain-following capabilities. The F-111C, equipped with a reinforced undercarriage and longer wings, became Southeast Asia's most potent aircraft. In 2006, Australian F-111s intercepted North Korean cargo ship Pungsu, transporting heroin into Australia since 2003. The F-111 demonstrated significant anti-shipping capabilities by sending the Asian vessel to the bottom of the sea. In 2010, the Australian F-111s were decommissioned. The F-111 was never flown by the U.S. Navy but was extensively used by the Air Force for various combat duties. Over 500 people were drafted into the USAF to perform various roles, including electronic warfare, fighter bomber, and interceptor. The aircraft included advanced technologies like radar systems, wind patterns, and turbofan engines, which took time to develop and deploy in battle. Despite its adaptability, the F-111 served for almost 30 years, serving in various regions from the Middle East to Vietnam. Despite the ongoing contentious design of multifunctional or joint-use aircraft, Navy authorities concluded that the F-111 was not defective but insufficient for its intended fighting function.